Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Mayor Gonzalez, just to clarify a question, did the Hard Board approve that study, that consulting study? Okay.
Yes. All right. I wanted to ask the consul if you allow me to move the San Mateo County Youth Leadership before the City Selection Committee.
Sure.
Because they've been waiting for quite a while. Now is the time. I'm going to call here to the podium the following persons: Ulysses Arias. He's not here, but you can be for him. Yes.
Except for him.
Stephanie Arias.
Except for her.
Corleen Perry. And Andrea Acosta. Gabriel de la Cruz. I think that's all. I'm going to read you this certificate of recognition of the South San Francisco City Council that's hereby and recognize all these names that I mentioned. This certificate is presented in recognition of your contribution to Project CASA, creating access to smoke-free apartments, a report by youth organization organizing San Mateo County. And this is a certificate signed by the whole council. And I give you a lot of credit for this work that you are doing. And I think the Mayor Pro Tem has also a word to say. Would you like to come down and shake hands with this young man, please?
Sure.
I love your tenacity and your commitment.
Would you like to say a word, please?
Thank you, Mayor and the City Council, for this award. And we are Yo Mario, a program of Youth Leadership Institute working on Project CASA. My name is Andrea Acosta, and I'm an 8th grader at Altaloma Middle School.
My name is Brandon Reformado, and I'm a senior at South San Francisco High School. And our issue is that in the United States, we have 150,000 to 300,000 children who are affected by secondhand smoke every year. The symptoms that they experience are asthma, coughing, headaches, ADHD, and stuttering. And this is why we are here.
We conducted 100 public opinion surveys in South San Francisco, and we found that 100% of the people we surveyed agree that secondhand smoking is bad for you. 96% of the people we surveyed agreed that secondhand smoking would bother them. Yet only 5% of the people complained to the management about this. They said that they don't feel that they have the right to complain, and they're scared of losing their homes.
So the last 5 years I've lived here in South San Francisco, I've lived in an apartment and I've been affected by this by secondhand smoke. The symptoms that I've experienced was coughing, stuttering, and headaches.
I myself, as a newborn, lived in a 2-story apartment building in South San Francisco and had to go to the hospital on several occasions because the person who lived underneath us was a smoker.
And we are here today because we would like to request for South San Francisco to create a ordinance of smoke-free housing. And excuse me 1 second, I lost my train of thought for a second. Oh, and in the packet that we've provided there, you should have a sample of Daly City's ordinance of smoke-free housing. Thank you for your time. Do you have any questions?
Would you like to speak? Yourself.
Once again, thank you for these awards, Mayor and City Council members. I really just want to recognize the youth here who are not only victims of secondhand smoke, but are standing up and doing something and advocating for the rest of the community and for the rest of the youth who can't be here today.
And this is for multi-unit apartments and condos. Councilman Gingona from Daly City, it was close, but I happened to turn on my computer before I came here, and he forwarded us a copy of the ordinance that the city of Daly City has passed relative to no smoking in multi-unit dwellings, as well as a letter from him to all of us asking us, to support this and create an ordinance. And well, I've always been an advocate. I live in a condo, and it is so bad that because I have an electric, comes up from and my eyes water, and I do get a headache. And then in my bedroom where I go for shelter at night for reading and watching some of movies, my other neighbor, it seeps through because it's an old unit. It was built in 1976, so they don't have those things. And I'm a reform smoker, so I'm not hung up about smoke, but at nighttime in a confined space, and I have no place else to go, I'm sorry, it's just terrible. And I think from an enforcement, if we have an ordinance and city attorney and police chief, I would contact my homeowners. If we had I would contact my homeowners association and say, such and such is smoking, and there's a ordinance in the city of South San Francisco that says, no smoking. So I would look to them to remedy the situation with the homeowner, and I would assume that would be done with the owner or the manager of apartment dwellings. It's a question.
It could be done that way. They could take a role in that, the homeowner association. My understanding is in Belmont, where I've spoken with the city attorney about it, it's complaint driven, and so if they get complaints, they actually go out and enforce. And they thought initially they would get a lot more complaints than they ultimately received, but they do it on a complaint driven basis. That's my understanding from at least from Belmont.
My condo looks like an ashtray.
The what?
My condo looks like an ashtray.
So the state law that allows localities to move in this direction takes care of people that are already in a unit? In other words, are you grandfathered in if you're smoking, or do you have to move?
No, this type of ordinance would apply prospectively and it generally will not grandfather unless the way you draft the ordinance allows for grandfathering, which would be very difficult to actually deduce, because the units, they're multifamily, they turn over,
Right.
and so if you're making the policy decision to prohibit smoking in multifamily, you're just going to effectuate changing people's habits on a prospective basis.
I was surprised recently, a major condo project in town. I was aware of the vote, 112 units, and it didn't pass to make it a non-smoking building. It's still, even if it's not a majority of the people, there's still a minority interest in health, and nobody should be subjected to what Carol's described.
It really is horrendous, and it doesn't bother me. smoker, but when
Yeah.
I'm at my computer in the evening downstairs or in my bedroom, it's that bad.
So you would like to have more information? Carol?
Yeah, is there consensus on the council to we can city attorney can look at the ordinance, Daly City's ordinance and any others and possibly bring back something?
Yeah, I'm just going to be really direct. I don't really want to load up too much more before November. I think that we got a lot of balls in the air right now, and I am sympathetic, but
What is the rest of the council?
Well,
We call it a work in progress?
sure. I mean, I'll gladly have the discussion, but I'm not prepared to.
Yeah,
Right after November.
Okay.
I would like to see the information, at least start the process, perhaps.
yeah, I would like to first address the initiative that the youngsters have taken, and I really want to commend you for understanding how to get something like that, at least to the attention of the council, where they are
I'm taping it
discussing
for
an
Las
issue like
Vegas.
that. That's a great
Because
training,
we're gonna
and,
return this already.
keep it up and make all your other friends also
So at
get
least we have
involved in
something.
what you're doing, and do what you believe. And if you are really after something which is substantial, I'm sure you'll get a lot of support from people who have sense to understand what you're doing. In terms of HOA, I am a president of my local HOA. At least in our HOA, our hands are tied on what we can really force our residents to do. It's all written in the bylaws. So,
This is a city ordinance, not an HOA. It's not, you're thinking, well, because
no, I was thinking about your previous suggestion about they should go to HOA to complain. I'm just reiterating that in some cases HOA will not be able to undertake the policing action on someone who is offending the neighbors. That's the point. But I would also like to get a little bit more in depth about the impact of this in terms of how many people will be impacted, and I would like to have a little discussion on this thing before going too far. Thank you.
So